Shabbat Shalom. In the months before I came here, back in December 2014, I was doing some rabbinic work in France for different congregations, particularly in Marseille. As I've spoken about before, it coincided with that period in France when there were the terrorist attacks on the French magazine, the Charlie Hebdo, and the terrorists had come in and gunned down nearly the entire editorial staff. And they had fled, the terrorists. They had done this act because of a cartoon that mocked the Prophet Muhammad. And the whole country was in a lockdown, very much reminding one of the atmosphere in this country after 9/11, everybody in shock and fear, the whole society shaken at its roots. And I remember as I was traveling down to Marseille that the trains were full of military police. Everybody was on edge. And then just as I was landing in Marseille, another terrorist attack happened at the kosher supermarket in Paris, and the whole Jewish community was in crisis. Do we cancel all Shabbat services? What do we do? At the end of that weekend, at the end of that Shabbat, I traveled up with the head of the conservative movement in France up to Paris, and we took part in that national march, one of the biggest marches that ever been in France, drawing millions of people, and it was just incredibly powerful. The whole country seemed to be there as we were marching through the streets, and there were those signs, Je suis Charlie Hebdo, I am Charlie Hebdo, Je suis Juif, I am Jewish, even Je suis musulman, I am Muslim. And they marched, and they were singing the French national anthem, Aux armes citoyens, the Marseillaise. Formez vos bataillons, form your lines. And melody I'd heard many, many times, but never connected to, because it was really all about the purges of the French Revolution and about the violence of that era. But I remember on that day, as I heard it rise and fall among all the crowds, that I could feel its power, and that it was a powerful battle cry for liberty, for fraternity, for equality. And it felt like the whole nation, for that small moment, was suddenly united and seeking to return to what they had once stood for what could unite them, and to fill themselves with hope and courage and positivity, and to find a new way forward. And this is some of what the power of what our Parsha is talking about this week. When it starts with these words, Vayakel Moshe, and Moses assembled the people. He brought everyone together to be together. And there were men, and according to commentators, the women came too, and the children, and the elderly, Kol Adat Bnei Israel, the entire community of Israel. Because there is such a power when people are gathered together with an intention to do good, and to find common values, and to find an understanding, and to share in their humanity together, and to just share in a moment of time when you feel you have an opportunity to steer the collective in a new direction, the joint enterprise, and to sing the songs of where you come from and where you're going, of where you belong, where you hope to one day head. We shall overcome. I remember a few years ago in Israel when it was celebrating its 70th birthday, the tens of thousands gathered in a stadium in Jerusalem to sing one of the great anthems of early Israel, Al Kol Ele, right? Over the honey and the stinger, over the bitter and over the sweet. And just to pray together sometimes as a collective. And it's very powerful on Kol Nidre, when we see the whole congregation is all here together to be together on our holiest day, on Yom Kippur. And then again on Ne'ilah, at the very end of the day, everyone together to end the fast. And just that power of doing something together, tshuva, repentance together, of our own songs that we sing, rising and falling. And it's a large part of what it means to be in this building, a Beit Knesset. What's a, literally in Hebrew, what is a synagogue? It's a house of gathering, it's a house of assembly. Because when we're together, we have that power. We know we have a joint fate. And we're more than just individuals, more than the rhythm of just people going through our lives. And we're part of something greater, more important, greater than the sum of all of our parts. So when we gather together as a Jewish people, then there's really a direct link to our Parsha this week, to what the children of Israel are doing. And that word Vayakel, which is the title of our Parsha, is coming from the same word as Kehilah, congregation. And sometimes it's only when we're all together and we're thinking and acting and marching for something of meaning that we're completely reminded of what our most dearly held values are and what it means our most cherished beliefs are. And this is really what we're doing here in this world. And yes, on some level we're here to go about our lives and to work through our own individual fates, our families in this school of life, one day after the other, trying to bring more security and love and prosperity and understanding to ourselves and the people we love. And every now and then we're reminded that every one of us is also part of something very sacred, and that in key moments one needs to show up and to put our input and our love in that direction. We're part of the lives of a nation and the lives of the story of a people, of all those who came before us, and the lives of all of humanity. And then when one finds that place, there's also a security there, and a wholeness there, and a peace there. That we're part of the great fabric of the universe, all of life interconnected, a much greater reality than just our own little consciousness. And to remind us that, yes, although we are but dust and ashes, every one of us, but also as the Simcha Banim would teach, for us the world was created. For every one of us, we have a part to play, a song to sing, to be part of our house of gathering, our house of prayer, our house of assembly, our house to do good, to feel our hearts soar with everyone else in this room, in this community, when we're out to do what needs to be done. And so why did Moses gather the people at this moment in the Torah? Well, he had something he needed to tell them that was very important for them to hear. So he gathered all of them together. And according to tradition, this is just a few days after he descended the mountain on Yom Kippur itself to give them the new tablets after all of the failure of the golden calf. And Moses' face was full of light and scaring them. It was so full of light. And he had the new tablets, and he told them a little, okay, this is what we need to do, but it wasn't a proper assembly. But then he decided, I need to assemble all of them. And they all came, and we can imagine what it must have felt like. It had been so awful just a few days before. The loss of control, and then the people dying, all that come up with the calf. And so first Moses gave them Shabbat and reminded them day of rest, but also to tell them it was going to be okay. And they had to learn to live together despite what had just happened. And yes, God had forgiven them. And was Moses kind and warm and fuzzy in that moment? Probably not. But in his way, he wanted to show them that they were loved and that God loved them. And he told them, okay, these are the commandments that we need to live by to make it right, and that would permit them not to make the same mistake again. And he wanted to give them tools so they could learn to be together, to live with love and understanding. And he told them about a new idea. Well, they needed something else to connect to. And so God was going to say, okay, we're going to build a tabernacle amidst the community. And in this way that's so impossible for us to understand, in our story, he says, well, God is going to dwell amongst us. His presence will be in the camp, her presence. A cloud will surround all of it, and there'll be beautiful worship and beautiful clothes. It's going to give us something to all do together. It would inspire all of us for the journey ahead. It would give them something to focus on. It would be amazing. So it was a gathering at a moment of challenge for the people to be inspired and to heal and to reconcile. And this is still why we gather, why we have gathered in the past, and why we must gather. To find the inspiration, to find commonality with others at moments that are challenging in our world, and to remember those values that link us, and to go out and shake the world with our voices and our feet, and to raise up with song our hopes for the future, and to remember that we are part of something larger than just ourselves. We are part of the congregation of the Jewish people. We are part of humanity. We are children of the Holy One. Shabbat Shalom.